The 2024 Eagles, Hugh, this team is really good. I heard yesterday as I was driving home, it was the afternoon show, and I think Spike finally entered the realm where he's ready to talk about the Super Bowl. Now, we've been there for a while as a show.
We've been there for weeks.
I mean, you started trying to get us there in the summer. It took me 8 weeks to get there, and then I started saying, this team could go to the Super Bowl. And I believe they're clearly one of the top two teams in the NFC right now, and it feels like we're on a collision course, the Eagles and the Lions, to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC. But Hugh, as I hear everyone now saying Super Bowl or bust, Super Bowl expectations, we're eastbound and down, we're thinking about a trip to New Orleans. It has gotten me thinking about where we were at 2 years ago, because that team was pretty much from the start of the season until the end. They were the favorites in the NFC. They jumped out. They were the best team. And 2 years ago, I felt like the Eagles were on a path to the Super Bowl. It took me a little longer this year to get there. Now, I think we've all decided right now they're really good. We've all decided they have a real chance to make the Super Bowl. The question is, are you ready to say they're better than the team 2 years ago? And let's not let revisionist history get to us because they lost the Super Bowl. That team 2 years ago was outstanding. They really were a tremendous football team that dominated most weeks. They beat the crap out of bad teams.
Yeah, they lumped some folks up.
They did. They were different, right? They ran a lot, but they were more of a pass-first offense. Then they ran to put you away. This team is more of a run-first offense, and they beat you in a different way, but it's still really similar. They do a lot of things, a lot of the same people, same coach, same quarterback. So, Hugh Douglas, are you ready to say right now the 2024 Eagles are better than the team we saw 2 years ago that made the Super Bowl?
You know what? When we were talking about this morning, it took me a while to answer, but the more and more I think about it, I think my answer is easy, and I think it's yes. Because when I think about that team, I think about certain things that happened at the end of that season when people were talking about folks being outcast and how, most of the guys that you have. Because if I think the backfield in that Super Bowl win was guys that were outcast from other teams.
Well, so
was Miles Sanders
Miles
was here.
Sanders, Kenny Gainwell were the backs, yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where – no, you're talking about – I'm thinking about the wrong squad. Excuse me. I'm thinking about the other squad that actually won the Super Bowl.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it is. So let me get back on track here. Yeah, I do think it is still. I do think that is the case because Saquon Barkley is man, I can't even quantify what he means to this team. And I've been thinking about that the last couple days.
I think everyone has.
And it's really like listening to what's being said about him, thinking about his contribution, thinking about this MVP talk and what he brings to the table. I know it sounded like hyperbole last night when I said it. I was on the show. We were doing the Players Lounge last night. And I said to Ike, I think that Saquon Barkley is Eagles Hall of Famer right now. And he kind of looked at me and, Ike's a deep thinker and he was like, he didn't respond. But the more and more I think about it, I feel more conviction about saying that because of what his contribution has been in this year. It's something to be said about being on a team that has this kind of feel and this kind of camaraderie that's like no other place in NFL. Just to give you a little bit of background on that, when I went to Jacksonville, when I took the money, that was the one thing that I missed more than anything else about this city was the camaraderie that we had on the field. I've seen a side of Saquon that, again, I don't watch too many Giants games, but I would venture to say that a lot of Giants fans haven't seen this side of Saquon.
Can I bring a word to the discussion?
What's that?
I see joy in him, the way he plays.
Yes.
Like he's like a kid again.
Yes. He looks like he's in college, and he's at Penn State, and he's running like 3 yards in a cloud of dust or whatever. Mm-hmm. He just looks rejuvenated. And, the big talk has been over the last couple of weeks how many touches he's had. I don't see any signs of him slowing down. I know everybody's worried about next year and how running backs fall. Let's worry about next year. Let's ride this wave. Let's see how far we can get on this tank of gas.
So you're saying this year mostly because of Saquon is the difference?
I think so.
Okay.
Let's see how far we get on this tank of gas.
All right. So here's where I'm at. And I thought a lot about this morning before we got on the air because I have to be honest with you. If this question came up 5 weeks ago, I probably would have laughed at the idea. Like,
yeah,
like because I don't think we should underrate the 2022 Eagles because they lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, right? Like that team was incredible. That was a great football team that dominated the NFC all year. They dominated 2 playoff games to the tune of I think it was like 69-14. Like they left no doubt on the way to a Super Bowl. This team still has to do that. They still have to get there and check all those boxes we know the team 2 years ago did. But Hugh, I am starting to consider it. My mind is moving towards that this team might be better. And I saw this stat yesterday that blew me away. Through 11 games, 2022 Eagles versus the 2024 Eagles. This team, the one we're currently watching, has a better scoring margin, has a better yardage margin, and a better explosive play margin. So more yards compared to the other team, more points compared to the other teams, more explosive play. Like it's statistically, this one looks better. But I'm going to put it this way. I'm not quite ready to say it. Maybe you guys will convince me. Maybe you'll convince me. I'm not sure where Kyle's going to come down. I'm not quite ready to say it for 2 reasons. They are better in the running game, clearly, right? Like Saquon is a different kind of beast than they had with Miles Sanders and they had with Kenny Gainwell 2 years ago. Even though it was a good running game, this is different, and Saquon gives it a different element. I also believe this year's defense across the board has better secondary players and better back seven players. Just better players in the back and against the pass. Mm-hmm. But man, Hugh, 2 things that I still am holding out on, and the BG injury does now affect it a little bit. That team 2 years ago was better at throwing the football, and they were better at getting to the quarterback. That's why I'm close, but I'm not quite there yet. I can't say it yet because I just thought the team 2 years ago was a better throwing team, and they got to the quarterback. 70 sacks is an incredible number.
It's nothing to sneeze at. Nothing to sneeze at.
And this pass rush, although they've been effective, and Vic Fangio has schemed it up, and they've got it from a bunch of different guys and contributions, they haven't quite gotten there yet. They haven't quite. Now, look, I'm watching it. How about a guy that's been on both those teams? Darius Slay, he talked about this last week, 2022 versus 2024. He's one of those guys that was on that team. He's on this team. Here's what he thinks about which team is better.
Hey, last one for you. What's the difference between this year's Eagles team and the Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl?
No, I say this team is way a lot more, balanced than the 2022 team because of the fact that, if you are an Eagles player, the Eagles always been D-line driven. And, the D-line really kind of like carries the team. They set the tone. I think this whole team here in 2024 is a team. The defense is a whole tone setter instead of just like the D-line, even though we still command the D-line to set the tone because they are the front. But you can see it's kind of like more balanced, not guys that's sticking out with 15 sacks, 12 sacks, 13 sacks. We had a year with at least 5-6 guys had over 10 sacks. So, that's right now I think we got a guys that all contribute in a good way and we all just playing together.
So Slay talking about the balance.
Sacks by committee.
Sacks by committee. It's different. If they beat the Ravens this week and they keep winning, they reel off 14, 15 wins, by the end of the season, I might say, you know what? They actually are better. I'm not ready to say it right now. 215-592-9494. Hugh's ready to say it today. This team is better than the team 2 years ago. I'm not there yet, although, I see some evidence where we might be moving that direction.